Good morning, YouTube. Hey, hot mic, check. Okay, here we go. Ready? Good morning, YouTube. Today is Thursday, April 25th. I'm JB, and welcome to another edition of What's On Today with Discovery Bay, home of the YouTube Comic Community Channel Guide. This is the show where I'm going to share some of my top picks from the sea of comic content that was released yesterday. Then I'm going to run down a lineup of shows that are either releasing or going live today. So, yesterday's most anticipated top read was Heroes in Crisis. And I can't wait for my copy to show up from Midtown at some point. So, let's get started with a quick recap of yesterday's highlights. There are links to these channels in the description below. These channels have been discovered. First up on the recap, over at the Regie Simmons IFBB Pro channel, Regie released a video titled, Should You Buy 2 Copies of Each Book? Comic Collector. Let's take a look.
So here's a question for you. Do you buy multiple copies of the same comic book? One to read and one to store in a bag and board? That was a question that was actually submitted to me by a subscriber of the channel. And my short answer is no. I don't do it at all because I personally believe that it ties up too much of my financial resources. But I think we should talk about it because it is a legitimate question. Stay tuned for the video. Reggie here, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder and comic book collector, and I want to welcome you to another one of my videos. A subscriber by the name of Cody recently submitted a question to me asking if I buy multiple copies of the same comic, one to read and one to store safely in a bag and board. And his question really revolves around this idea that reading a comic could potentially devalue that comic, right? Because you're touching it, you're opening it, you're bending the cover potentially.
I absolutely struggle with this issue. I mean, right now I'm buying up to 3 copies. One to read, one to collect, and one to collect by title, and one to collect by artist. Is there anybody else out there doing this? Please drop me a comment below so we can continue the dialogue. Now, to see this video and more great content from Reggie, go ahead and click the link right here. The next item on the recap comes from the ComicPOP channel. He released a video titled The Last Avengers Story Back Issues. This was the first video I've ever seen from this channel. Let's take a look.
Welcome to Back Issues. I'm Sal.
I'm Ben.
So, Avengers Endgame is either out or coming. All I know is the ending's been spoiled for you already, I'm sure. But we figured we'd talk about an Avengers story today. Why not? The Last Avengers Story. Literally, the book is called The Last Avengers Story. It is the final hour of the Avengers, written by seminal comic book writer Peter David, with art by Ariel Olivetti. This story has a lot of caveats to it. First of which is it came out in 95.
Okay.
It was written in 86.
What?
Yeah, Peter David wrote this story in 86. And Marvel was like, kind of bleak, kind of dark.
We want at least another decade of selling comics before we ruin the franchise.
Well, what if we wait until we're bankrupt before we release it?
Right.
Now, this was fun. These guys were great. To see this video and more from ComicPOP, click the link right here. Okay, the final item on the recap comes from George over at MCE, Marvelous Collectibles and Entertainment Channel. He released a video titled Top Picks Favorite Collectibles for 24-19, collecting episode number 74. Let's take a peek.
What's up, people? I'm George, and this is the Collecting News, the show where I bring you my top picks for this week in collecting. And I'm not going to waste no time today. I got some good stuff for you guys. I got stuff that's going to make your hearts fly, your wallets cry, and your significant others say, why? Why are you buying another statue? It's all right, guys. You can blame it on me. Let's not waste no time, and let's get to it.
Sorry, we're going streaking through the quad and into the gymnasium. Come on, everybody!
Fair warning, guys. Like the Juggernaut that they just released. You know, I don't see an issue with that. I feel like if you own the Juggernaut and you own this piece, they don't look all that similar that you're gonna like. People are just gonna say, yeah, those two poses were just copied off each other. My favorite this week is the Batman Sanity statue by XM Studios. This thing is a work of art. That's all I'm gonna say about that. You know, it's fantastic. I saw this at New York Comic Con last year in October in person. This thing is beautiful. It is an amazing looking statue. It is very, very expensive. I mean, I'm definitely not gonna lie about that. This is definitely an expensive statue, but it's fantastic. And you get a lot in this piece. You know, you have...
To see this entire video and a lot more statue-related content from George at MCE, go ahead and click the link right here. Okay, now let's get to today's lineup and find out what's on today with Discovery Bay. All of these times are listed in both Pacific Standard Time and Eastern Standard Time, and there are channel links with timestamps in the description below. Today there are 10 shows in the lineup, 2 are premiere videos, and 4 are going live. So, first up, at 12 a.m. Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern.
Whosoever watches this channel, if he or she be worthy, shall acquire the knowledge from High Road Comics.
Arrow and High Roads Comics is releasing a video titled High Roads New Comic Book Day Pickups for 4/24/19, Marvel, IDW, DC, Scout, and Aftershock. At 2 a.m. Pacific, 5 a.m. Eastern. Billy over at Economics and Comics is releasing 2 more Avengers Endgame movie spoiler videos. The first video is titled Avengers Endgame Conspiracy. Did Marvel film alternate endings and deaths to prevent spoilers? That's interesting. I'm not watching it, but that's interesting. The next video is titled Avengers Endgame Movie. Does Loki live or die? I have the answer. Warning, spoilers. Again, I'm not watching it, but cool. At 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. Over at the Burke Nasty at 54 channel, Steve is premiering a video titled A Day in the Life of a Comic Book Collector on New Comic Book Day. Join him in the chat during this premiere event. Next up at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern, over at the Metarog channel, Roger gives us the weekly comic contest roundup. Now, if you want to know what's going on in the YouTube comic community contest world, then you need to make sure you watch this one. At 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, over at JLS Comics, we should be getting the next installment in their weekly live stream titled Comiconversation. Join them in the chat as Edwin of Strictly Comics, Justin of Exile State Comics, and Boston Chris have a great time talking up the latest and greatest news in the comic community. Next up at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern,
it's the CBSIBOLO Show! Now sit back and relax as Brian and Jack recap the first appearances, reader buzz, and hottest variants in comic books releasing each and every week. Coming to you from an unidentified command center, here's your host, Brian Wood!
What's going on, guys? This is Brian, Simple Man's Comics YouTube channel, and as always, it's the Thursday night CBSIBOLO Show. Got a great show for you planned tonight, recapping the week's hottest comic book releases.
join Jack, aka Mr. Bolo, and Brian over at Simple Man's Comics each Thursday night as they discuss this week's hottest comic book releases and recap the ComicBookInvest.com Bolo Be on the Lookout list for new comic books that released yesterday. This list is broken down into 4 parts: confirmed first appearances, reader buzz, variant buzz, and of course you can't forget aka Mr. Bolo's long-term play. At 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, oh yeah, I love that intro. Over at Comic Ace channel, we should be getting the next installment in his series titled Comic Book Haul for April 24th, 2019. At 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, over at All About Comics, we have another live show. This one is titled Comics and Cold Ones, episode number 46. Join JP, Pope, and the gang in the chat as they discuss the latest and greatest in comic news. Also at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, over at the Tony Sanders channel, we have another live show. This one is titled What's Your Grail, with special guest love to play that intro every chance I get from my yo bro ComicHead84. Join them in the chat and give them a thumbs up. The last item on the lineup starts at 7:30 p.m. Pacific, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. ComicChad and Caitlin of Cinema Figures give us a premiere video titled Game of Thrones Episode 2 Recap. And if you're watching Game of Thrones, you won't want to miss this. Join them in the chat during this premiere event. Well, that's it for today's show. Thanks for stopping in. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch me and my content. If you can, go stop by, oh, it's on this side, my Facebook page, and drop me a like. I'm also on Instagram, where this schedule will be posted in the afternoon with any ads and or changes. Now, if you enjoyed this video, give me a like. If you know of anybody who might be interested in this information or may want to be included in this show, please share this with them. Leave me a comment, if you can, on how I can improve the show and the channel, because I'm always looking to make improvements. Now, if you're not already a subscriber, think about subscribing so you don't miss out on any of these cool shows. And I hope you find some new content from today's show, and maybe you find your next favorite channel. As always, don't forget, we had a good time.